On this episode of Runner's Mouth, we're answering listener-submitted questions, training, fueling, pacing, our favorite running shoes, and more. All right, let's get into it. Welcome back to Runner's Mouth. I'm excited to have my buddy Gil back in the co-host seat. He's had a busy couple weeks, started a new job in Dallas. How's it going, brother?
What's up, man? I'm happy to be back. It's been a very busy month here in Dallas for sure. Work has been kind of crazy learning my new role, but we're managing. It's been a good time. I've enjoyed the process of relocating to a new location. You meet new people, new journeys, figuring out my run routes, where I'm going to walk my dog, good restaurants, things like that. It's been busy, but I'm happy to be back here with you and Runner's Mouth, and we're here.
Yeah, man, and you're pumping out the content, and you have some. We both signed up for a couple races. I want to hear about yours because I kind of found out on Instagram of some. So tell the people what races you signed up for, and I'll get into my next tackle of the marathon coming up in this fall/winter.
Yeah, man. So we have the goal of Boston 2028. So signed up for the Marine Corps Marathon in October. That's probably not going to be a qualifier for me. I mean, who knows? Lord knows. If it is, it is. That's great. But kind of a tune-up race. My buddy wanted me to run it with him, and so we signed up for it. And kind of one of those peer pressure moments where he's like, "Hey, dude, you want to run the Marine Corps Marathon?" And I'm like, "I don't really have a reason why I don't want to run it. Might as well." So signed up for that, and then our target is probably early January, February. It would be nice to get a qualifier for 2028 Boston. So we'll see how that goes. And then I signed up for an Ironman in Dallas, 70.3. Honestly, the logic behind that was I am using cycling as a means to augment my aerobic training to minimize injury risk, knowing that I am injury prone. And I'm starting to love it. Definitely one of those things that once you get into it, it's kind of hard not to love it. So thought to myself, hey, it's on the way to the marathon journey. It could only enhance my fitness so long as I'm keeping track of my training and doing all the right things with rehab and PT. It'll only help. So, I said, why not? Let's sign up. It gives me something to do throughout the week. So I'm officially an Ironman 70.3 participant. We'll see what happens, but I'm excited. I actually got all the gear in the mail because you can buy unique specific gear for this Ironman. So I got a jersey and a bib and a hat, and it came in the mail already, which for us as runners, we believe in superstition. Is like, yo, I'm not touching any of that. I'm not donning any of that on my body until I cross the finish line. Because we're so used to getting gear when you finish the race, So it's super weird that I got that beforehand, but it's in a closet, safe and sound. Will not touch it until March of 2027. So that's my life update.
Nice, man. I'm excited for you. Focusing on one sport, running, is a big enough time commitment. So I've always, the triathletes, it's crazy. I genuinely don't know if I'd ever have the time or the patience. So anyone who even goes for it, it's awesome to see people go and do that. With a toddler, I don't think I could do that right now. Marathon training was enough for me, but no, I'm stoked for you. And it is a great philosophy utilizing your cycling and swimming anyways. Why don't you just go for it? And like you said, it's only going to enhance. So rooting for you, bro, and I know that a lot of people who listen to this podcast follow the both of us, so they'll be keeping track. And I just signed up for, I'm taking my second crack of the marathon. So my philosophy is, I mentioned it in previous episodes, I'm going to be probably on the outside looking in of the Boston entry. I qualified, but we all know about the buffer that we got into. So it's hard to know. You don't know what the Boston Association is going to do, especially there's some new downhill penalties and things like that. So people who would run races out in Utah who really fast downhill ones, depending on how fast it is, talk about net downhills and everything. That's a little callback to us in college, little inside joke. But you get penalized 5 or 10 minutes depending on how
That's great.
downhill the course is. Yeah. So that's going to change how that people are saying it's going to change how wide span that buffer is. So probably going to be on the outside looking in for 2027. I'll find out in September. But regardless, like you said, you and I and several of our college buddies have the goal of running Boston 2028 together. So even if miracle happens and I somehow qualify for 2027, I'm still going for 2028 because we all want to do that together. And hey, I'll run Boston every year if I can, God will. That's amazing. That means I'm in shape.
Yeah.
So I signed up for my second marathon again, regardless of what happens for 2027. I am doing a tune-up half marathon in December, and then I decided on running the St. Pete Marathon here in Florida in February, early February. It's actually the week before the Super Bowl. I checked. I was like, is that the day of the Super Bowl? No, it's 1 week before. So I'm excited for that. And yeah, Boston 2028 is definitely a big goal. Leading right into the Olympics would be awesome for us to go and do that all together. That's gonna be a fun year for running. So let's get it, man.
Yeah, man, that sounds awesome. You might see me there. I haven't decided where my official attempt is going to be, but I know we talked about it. So might have to do the same race and we go out there and go crush it together. So we'll see what happens.
Well, I only know marathons with you next to me, so I would love that. It's flat, it's fast. It's risky doing Florida marathons, even if it's in the winter, because it could be 80 degrees, but, it's close to home for me. I want to just do easy logistics this time. And people have run, someone ran like 2:33 last year. I want to go
Yeah,
2:45. Obviously, we want to qualify for Boston, but I definitely want to push the goals. So we'll see. I think we should be all right. So
be
yeah,
fun.
that's us. Yeah, exactly. I'm excited, man. So that's update on us. This episode is going to be fun. I'm really excited. I want to do this. Like right when we started this podcast, I want to do something like this right away. And it's all about you, the listeners. Again, I know we don't have thousands of listeners right now, but we do have people who are interested in hearing from us. So past few weeks, we kind of asked our listeners to submit some questions for us on social media. Anything related to the running world, training, just us in general, but really, running and just anything on people's minds. So we got some really great entries. We both appreciate everyone submitting some questions, and I think it's time to just dive right into it. You ready for
Let's
that?
do it.
Okay, cool. So the first question is from my buddy Cameron, and we're not going to name every single person, but I wanted to say who the first question was from. It's my buddy Cameron, baseball player. He asked, for someone that played sports but never ran before, how do you start running?
Yeah, this is a great question, and I get this all the time. I'm actually getting ready to film a video kind of breaking this down in a nutshell. But the bottom line is that running is one of those sports where, unlike football or soccer or baseball, right, where you run for conditioning, running, that is the end game, right? So you kind of run for conditioning and then you run more to prove your worth. So it's a little daunting thinking about what it is that comes with training to be good at running. But the best way to start running is first and foremost having the right pair of shoes. And, we've talked about this a lot and the role of run specialty stores and just the technology that exists in shoes. And so understanding going to a run specialty store and understanding your gait and what type of shoe you need is the first step, first and foremost. We want to avoid injury when we get to start running because everyone's body's different and you really don't know how things are going to react once you start, getting out there and putting in some miles. So that's step number one. Once you have that right shoe for you based on your gait, the biggest thing that I tell people is like, let's start easy, right? The concept of running until it hurts or running until failure, you're not going to get better. You're just going to get depressed and you're going to give up fairly quickly because it's pretty hard to motivate yourself to get out the door when it hurts, right? And I'm not saying that there's a time and place to push yourself, but running to failure is not how you get better at running. You want to start very slow, almost like egg in a spoon race slow, right? Like, and what I mean by that is you just put on your shoes, you go outside. You don't even need a watch. To be honest with you, you don't even need a watch. Just go out and just jog and jog slow. And it's going to feel slow and it's going to feel like you could go faster. But the whole point is to build up resistance in your legs. At some point, your body's going to start thinking, wow, what is this person doing? I do not like what's happening. Your legs are going to start to feel sore, heavy, And over time, you're going to be like, wow, this is kind of tiring, but you got to give it time. Consistency is key. And that's why running really slow matters at first, because all you're trying to do is just to build a routine. And, I tell my athletes typically about 2 weeks, two to 2.5 weeks of consistency in your routine with running. And then you're going to start to see that the body's like, okay, this is not that bad. All right, I can do this. And that's when we can start playing around with increasing maybe the pace at which you're running and then the distance. And maybe we start off running 1 mile, 2 miles. Now we're up to 3 miles. And then we started running really slow at like 15-minute pace. And then we're at 10-minute pace eventually. The whole too long didn't read on that is start slow. You have to really take your time with this process, because if you rush it, your body will definitely kick back. And that's honestly the best way, is just consistently starting to run slow and slowly pick it up over time and build a routine. And after 2.5 weeks, you'll start to get a sense for where your body's at, what you're capable of, and then you can start to push yourself a little bit more. And then, maybe we start adding a watch into the mix. Maybe we start focused a little bit more on distance and pace, and things will start to pick up from there.
Perfect. I could have answered that better myself. That's why you're the coach.
It's a common question, man. It's hard.
It's a great question. No. That's what we're here for. This is like a no judgment zone.
And one quick add-on to that answer, David, is the understanding that AI cannot save you as a runner. And I have to say that because there's so many apps out there that are AI incorporated, and you can even ask ChatGPT to build you a running plan. And I actually asked ChatGPT to build me a running plan, and I compared it to the running plans that I make for athletes. AI can't save you because AI does not know what it feels like to go run. So when you log into your Runna app, because that's very popular, I had someone talk to me about the Runna app. I'm not saying that it's a bad tool. It's a good baseline. It'll give you generic information. But what Runna doesn't feel is your legs when you run. What Runna can't relate to, what AI can't relate to, is what you're going to feel while you're running. And so I tell my athletes, you have to understand how the body feels and adjust your training accordingly. If you're a beginner runner and you want to start running and you're hopping on the Jeff Galloway Run Walk program or some sort of Runna app where it's telling you to build up consistently and you're going to run 1 or 2 times a week and then your long run every week is going to get longer and longer. Listen, I'm not saying that's bad. It's a good starting point. But understand, AI can't feel. It can only recommend based on what it's built up with the open source data that it has. It cannot feel what your legs will feel like. Only you can feel that. So understand that this is why it's important that you work with people that can give you real-time feedback, right? That's why tailored coaching is important. Whether you get it from a buddy or whether you pay for it, like tailored coaching is important if you care about being successful at running by avoiding injury and doing it the right way.
That's an awesome call out.
All righty, David. So this question's for you. So what advice do you have for new runners fueling during a race? So this could be 10K, half marathon, full marathon.
Great question. Very important. And I can't answer this without saying this first. So people look at me as like, okay, yeah, I've run for almost 20 years. They know that I ran in high school, college, and beyond. What they don't realize is I did not touch nutrition until last year. So I started running in 2006. I ran my first marathon in 2026, so the training started in 2025. I did not touch a piece of nutrition during training until then. So therefore, I was a complete newbie to that world. So again, going back to this being a no judgment zone, there really are no stupid questions. The stupid thing is just winging it without and just like seeing what your body's going to do during the race. That, not to call someone stupid, but that is not the way to do it. Like you're setting yourself up for trouble. So with nutrition, let me also preface, I'm not the science guy of this little team. I can create cool videos for you and everything, but my brain is like a monkey with cymbals clapping when it comes to you need X amount of carbs and X amount of sugar. It's like, dude, okay, let's peel this down. So I'm going to give just a really quick preface of like what I did as a first-time nutrition user. Again, I've run all these races. Someone could be like, well, why didn't you? Well, why didn't you in the past? Well, my longest race up to this point, this past year, was a 10K. I mean, like I ran half marathons on a long run, but I wasn't pushing my body enough to where I needed nutrition. So typically in college running, for those, I'm not gonna just assume everyone knows what I'm talking about. When people are like, when collegiate athletes are running a 10K, their bodies don't need nutrition. When I say nutrition, we're talking about gels. We're eating well. Let me just like, we're eating well. Like we have nutrition. Like we're eating good meals before the race. We're having like a banana the morning of the race. We're talking fueling during the race. We don't need that. So that's why I never touched it. So when I go to my marathon training, I'm like, okay, I got my shoes, check. I got my training plan, check. Got all this stuff, check. Oh my gosh, nutrition. I don't know anything about it. So, and I was asking Chat GPT. I was looking online, and I can understand it to a base level. But what I did, I reached out to my friends, people who are just like Gilbert and other people who could be coaches if they wanted to, people who've done it before. And I said, give me just the layman's terms of what I need to focus on. And a lot of people are familiar with gel, or goo. I'm sorry, goo was kind of like the only thing, only fueling packet in like the early to mid 2000s, 2010s. Now, goo is kind of is known to one is hard on your stomach, two tastes terrible. No offense to goo, this is just reality. Like they're kind of like going down where these other companies are going up. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to use goo because hard on the stomach is not good for me. I have a bad stomach. I need to be very careful with what I'm taking in. I'm like the type of dude who like barely eats before a race, and that's not good in the marathon. I'm running for almost 3 hours. I need to be fueled. So I asked a couple friends, what brands do you recommend? And I was recommending some the Morton gels and the honey stingers and things like that. I went with Morton to try. Now this is my next point. Nothing matters. Whatever someone suggests doesn't matter until you go and try it. So I would go, and during my long runs are your practice. So like take it, take the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs are not going to the Super Bowl and doing a play that they've never done before. The day of the Super Bowl. They're practicing it. Same idea. So those long runs are your practice leading up to that race, whatever, or long runs or workouts. So I would take the Morton gels. I realized that, okay, so I need carbs, I need some caffeine, some sugar, whatever. So some sodium obviously is real important. So that's what those gels had. And I realized every 30 minutes was good for me, and my stomach handled them. And that worked for me. So in layman's terms, just try. If you pick a brand. If you can get it down well, that's great. Obviously, there are people who can answer this more science-y. That's not me. And I need layman's terms. So really my advice is there's really good brands out there now. Go to your local running store. And you know what? Morton is a little pricier than Goo, but here's my philosophy. I'm not Mr. Moneybags over here, but I'm already committing like $110 or whatever it is for a race entry, and I'm getting these shoes. I'm not gonna skimp out on what my body really needs, so I didn't really care about the price. And they have there's brands out there like The Feed or websites that you can get bulk. So once you find one, buy like 3 or 4 for your long run, or 5, whatever it is. And then once you realize it works for you, then you could get bulk like 12 to 15 or whatever it is, and it works for you. And I just used that through my training. And my nutrition was not the reason why I didn't hit my goals. My shoelaces fell and I just was running fast. My stomach felt great, which was awesome, because in the past, like in high school, I used to have like cramps and I didn't know what I was doing. I just kind of winged a lot of this stuff. So, Gil, do you have anything else to add in terms of like sciencey stuff, or a little bit more, or do you kind of agree that it's really just practice makes perfect?
Yeah, I agree with you. Practice makes perfect. You have to try different brands. You're not going to know what's going to work for you until you're actually using it and then running, right? So practice is going to be key. And that also goes into your rhythm. Thinking back to college when we were running, NCAA, none of the distances, like you mentioned, required fuel. And we actually, growing up, I used to make fun of people that would like run with like a water bottle and like a belt. Back in the day, water belts were like such a popular thing. And I'd make fun of people because like you're running a 5K, like you don't need that. And I will say today, I feel a little bit differently, but still to a certain degree, there are certain distances where you can do enough fueling prior to where your body's going to be okay, and you don't need all that extra stuff on your body because I am a minimalist when I run. But going back to their original thought, the distance changes everything, right? When you're running for that long, even at half marathon, I struggle with nutrition because I am a chronic cramper. I every long marathon, half marathon that I've attempted, I've cramped for sure. And I have even me at my age, I haven't quite mastered the nutrition piece. That's something that's going to be my biggest hurdle to overcome as I'm training for Boston and an Ironman will be the nutrition piece. So I'll check back in a couple months with how it's been going for me, but I am 100% on board with what you're saying. You have to practice 100%. You're not going to know how you're going to feel until you intake it and then you go exercise. So your long run is your grail workout of the week as you're preparing for marathon. You need it and you need to practice it. And what better way to do it during the long distance training like a long run?
Yeah, one last piece, and you see this on online running forums and TikToks and things like that. I'm gonna add to, I'm gonna say it just so we say it here. Never try something new on race day. That is like
Yeah.
tried and true, and I can attest to that. I used pickle juice because people have told me that it's like really good for like to get rid of cramps because it has so much salt. I did drink some like on a 4 mile run, just like feel the taste, but that wasn't a true trial. So I didn't listen to my own advice. My marathon, I felt kind of a cramp coming on around like right around when I was about to hit the wall. When I started like almost like, lose vision and consciousness really right around mile 20, 21. I took the pickle juice shot. I like pickles, so I didn't like the taste wasn't bad, but that hurt my stomach for at least a little bit. Again, that didn't ruin my race, but that was a no-no. I shouldn't have done that. I kind of panicked like, oh my God, I had it on, like my friend handed it to me. We kind of planned like the pickle plan, like, hey, if I need it, I really should have taken the sodium drink that I had, the Scratch Labs drink that I should have taken another one of those. Just another testament to don't try something new on race day. Practice,
Yeah.
practice, practice beforehand. So, okay, moving on to a very topical kind of trend. I don't even like. I see things about this, but I know Gil, you have a lot to in the run clubs and everything. I'm sure it's talked about a lot. Zone 2. Somebody asked, "What are your thoughts on Zone 2 running?" And please, like, explain it a little bit, like what that even is, and then why people are using it. So some say it's a current trend. Others say it just kind of matches whatever easy pace you want. What's the whole? Give us the myth of Zone 2.
Yeah, with running, there's an art and a science, right? The science is simple. You have to run more to get better at the distance that you want, right? If you want to be a good 5K, you have to run more than a 5K to get better at that distance, right? That's the science. It's simple. You run more, take care of your body, you'll be all right. The art is where the zone two trend comes in, and you have people that run off a feel, and those that are very data centric and want to know what's going on. You have heart rate. People train at heart rate, and so zone two is essentially you're running at it is an easy pace. Zone two is a sustained zone of your heart rate where many people say you have the most benefit to your aerobic training and building up your aerobic capacity, VO2 max, etc. I would say that's a myth, right? Because context matters. And there's a guy on the internet that breaks down professional athletes' Stravas, and they're like, "Look, this guy ran 4 miles at 8 minute pace, and he's a world marathon record holder. Of course, easy running is good." And what he lacks is context because that was probably the guy's warm up. I've broken down the same stats, and you'll see that they later do a crazy workout, and you're like, dude, that was a warm up. But this whole idea behind zone two is the thought process of running easy uh, to protect yourself and get faster long term. And both things can be true, right? Zone two is important in my eyes. I don't train at heart rate, but I understand the importance of zone two, because what you're saying with training at zone two is you're training at an easy pace. And there are days where you have to go easy because you have to protect your other workouts. If you go out and rip it on a 6 mile run and you feel great and you absolutely torch it, and I'm speaking from experience, I've gone on runs where they were supposed to be easy runs and I go out and rip it. I closed in 5:50 for my last mile. I'm feeling good. Great. That was a great workout, but that was supposed to be your easy run. And now you're in a deficit for your interval work or for your long run on the weekend. And then it may not impact you immediately, but maybe next week, right? Because running it has its returns and you will feel it eventually. And so if you're in a deficit consistently while you're training, next thing you know, your long run goes to absolute bonkers and you're wondering why. Your legs are heavy, you feel tired, you're not in the right state of mind. It's because you've been constantly chipping away at your deficit, right? You only have a certain amount of workload throughout the week that your body can sustain before it starts to break down. You start to add in how many hours of sleep did you get? What's your nutrition been like? What's your work stress been like? How many hours have you been on your feet? It's not just running and not running. There's so much that goes into training. So if you chip away at that load that you have over time by exceeding zone two or exceeding your easy run pace, you're going to start limiting yourself in what you can do long term. And so zone two is really just understanding where your pacing is at. Because I could tell you that I could break down you, David, your record, your personal best, your current training, and I can get you, based on my training algorithm, I can get you the pace chart that you need to be at in order to succeed at 2:30 marathon. That's easy. You can build that. But that's essentially zone two, right? Because if I know if your easy run pace is 7:30s, right? If I know, David, your 7:30s are zone two. It's the same thing, right? Hey, I run at 7:30 pace for my easy runs. Well, the data tells me that you're in zone two. Or some people train at heart rate and they go, I'm only going to train at zone two, which there's benefits because there's going to be days, David, where 7:30 pace might not be in your zone two. You might have exceeded in zone three, and so you'll turn it back to like 7:40s, 8-minute pace, right? That there is value in training at heart rate. It's just a little bit more precise in how you train. I wouldn't say one or the other. I'd say they work hand in hand with each other. I think you should understand your pace chart and where you need to be at, but you should also understand where your heart rate is at. And nowadays you get heart rate on your wrist, you get it by way of chest strap. There's all sorts of ways. I mean, my Oura ring gives me my heart rate. The most accurate measure, in my opinion, is from the chest. But I don't train with a chest strap. I will coming forward in the triathlon, building phase. But for now, I just use what's on my wrist. And I'll look at my heart rate, but I don't care for it. Like, I know where my easy runs are at. And there's days where if I feel a little extra tired on my run, I'll look at my heart rate and I go, oh, I'm in zone 3. Do I care about zone 3 or zone 2? No, but I'll tone it back and be like, I'm probably running a little too fast for what I need to be doing right now on an easy training run. Now, there's going to be days where your long runs and interval work, you're gonna have to get into your higher zones. But I would say, in summary, the difference between zone 2 easy runs, yes, it's a trend. It's because our generation right now, are the kinds of runners that we have in the run community now, are very much focused on data and wanting more insights into their training, which is great. And that's why zone 2 is such a popular topic. I'm not going to knock it. I'm not going to say it's bad. I think it's valuable information, but I think there's also value in not making it too complicated. If you thrive off of data, by all means. I don't. I have an Oura ring that I barely check. I only care about my sleep score. I have heart rate. I don't check it. But I will say that there is a return on investment in understanding your pacing guide, where you should be based on your current fitness, and what that relates to in terms of heart rate zones, so that you know that you're not overdoing it and chipping away at what's most valuable is your core workouts for the week. At BDRC, all my athletes can attest to this. You must protect the long run and you must protect the interval work. So anything outside of those 2 staple workouts, I want you to run based off of feel and ease. If it's an easy run and it feels conversational, great, because that's what it's meant to be. But if you feel like you're taxing yourself before we actually get to the hard workout for the week or the long run, absolutely not. Slow it down, because we have to protect the work that has to be done. which is fundamental to your success at running long distance, which is your long run and your interval work. And I'm not saying that every week you're just going to run a longer distance. No, that's BS. Your long run and how fast you do your long run and the interval work that you do is most important. And I'll caveat a little side quest thought process here. When you're doing interval work, the most important part of your interval work is not the interval itself, but it's the recovery that you give yourself in between. Because when you think about successful running in a race, whoever finishes first was the person that slowed down the slowest. Think about it. They got tired the slowest because no matter what, people typically will get slower over time. Those that get slower the slowest run the fastest. So you're training your body to recover while you're running. That's important. Your interval work and how you do that. My coach in high school and college, our interval work was consistent. It's the recovery throughout the season that changed. We might have started at 2-minute full recovery, and by the end of the season, we were doing the same workout with 30 seconds recovery. That's how you gauge fitness. You can do the same workout, same interval split with less recovery.
I love it. That was a great answer. I mean, you hit on everything. I'm guilty, and we all are, of training at too fast of a pace. In high school, I used to sprint back to school. We'd run from the school. I'd run out to the beach and back. I'd be sprinting almost every day. I had no idea what I was doing. And I got a race in 3 days or something. It's like, dude, chill out. So something I learned in the marathon training is slow it down. Slow it down. Whatever that means. Zone 2, whatever. Yeah, going off a feel. So I think you hit it home. You hit a home run on that answer. So I appreciate the feedback, man. You're definitely a good coach. You're in the right career path.
I appreciate you, man. I love what I do, man. So it's too easy for me to help people. It's what I love to do. All right, let's move on to the next question, David. This one's for you. How do you stay focused on maintaining a certain pace? Every time I try, I just lose track, get overly tired, and give up.
Yeah, great question. And it's kind of, we're kind of going off of a little bit of a tangent on what you were just talking about. But we were talking about feel, and we're talking about someone who already has a watch, and they're kind of going more into the data. I know this person who asked this question, they're not a hardcore runner, so that they're on the beginner stages. I don't believe they have a GPS watch, so I'll start there. Got to get a GPS watch if you're going, based on this question, if you're going off a pace, because we first have to know your pace. GPS watch or something that I don't know if like your phone is doing that, but I would say that, they have so many different options. Get a GPS watch, a Garmin or whatever other brands are out there. There's so many now. You could probably get one for under $100 if you just want distance, pace, and time. That's really the things that, I'm looking at VO2 max, we're looking at the zones and everything, but really on the run, during your run, I look at distance and pace. I don't even look at the overall time because I've been running for 20 years. I know what my overall time is. So that is they also have, if you want to go a little bit more, they have features where it's kind of like a metronome. If you're going too slow, they'll beep at you. If you're going too fast, they'll do another alert. Outside of that, like Gilbert said, feel. Go off of feel. You're talking about getting overly tired. You were running too fast. Just exactly what Gilbert said in our very first question. Put your shoes on, get some good shoes, go for a run. It could be down your street, slow jog. That is, you don't even have to worry about pace right now. When I think we've all, Gil is documenting his comeback. I've had my comeback from injuries. We're these seasoned runners, but I'm leveling with all of you listening. Like we don't see ourselves like that. We're just like everybody. Meaning, when I was coming back from my really bad injuries and I hadn't trained in a long time, I left my watch at home. I didn't even worry about the watch because I knew if I started seeing 8:30, I'm someone who trains in college, we used to train sub-7 pace, sub-7 minute pace per mile, which is probably too fast. We're competitive runners. It's fine, but it was probably chipping away at other things. But let's just say for the sake of it, 7:30 is where we all kind of have lived our whole lives. We know what that feels like. It's like a bread and butter. We could go for a jog and we could say, what are we at? 7:30, because we've done this literally thousands of times. But if I've been injured for a decade and I'm going out 7:30, whoo boy, that's gonna feel like what 5 flat used to feel like, or six flat, whatever it is. Leave the watch at home. Just focus on how you're feeling. Again, you're telling me in the question already, you're getting overly tired, you're going too fast. You don't, or you're going you're pushing, you're trying to go too far at the beginning. So just ease yourself into it, and then we could talk about the GPS watch. And get on the BDRC training plan, and that'll help you.
Right? BDRC training plan, man. That's the only way to do it.
Yeah. So okay, we have just a couple more questions, and these are definitely fun ones. All of these have been fun, but these are we'll kind of fire these off, lightning round. So I love this question. Gil, what's your all-time favorite shoe?
Man, this is a tough one. I took some time in the pre-read to really think about this one. My all-time favorite shoe, without a shadow of a doubt, is the Nike Zoom Elite. And not just any Nike Zoom Elite. There was the Nike Zoom Elite that is Bowerman series, and it was a light stability shoe, very much like the Brooks Ravenna. Now, the Zoom Elite did get discontinued, and then Nike brought it back as a midfoot strike shoe that was very aggressive, super fun, loved it. Probably my second favorite shoe. But then they discontinued that as well. But my all-time favorite has to be the Nike Zoom Elite First Edition, which was a light stability shoe. It was in between, the Nike Skylon and the Nike Structure, which the Structure still exists. Unfortunately, the Skyline also discontinued. But hands down, the best shoe I've ever had. It was light. It offered some stability for me. I was a light to moderate overpronator. And when they brought it back, I remember my buddy Seth Proctor. He ran at Florida State under Coach Bremen, and they got a special release of the Zoom Elite. It was bright orange. It was amazing, and my buddy Seth got me a pair, which was awesome because it was literally the best thing I had ever had. Was this super cool color that no one ever had. It was like a player exclusive thing, which most Nike schools got. UNF was a Nike school, but unfortunately we were not a big time Nike school like Florida State. So, but I got to benefit from having good friends. Best shoe of all time, in my opinion. Nike really missed the mark on letting that shoe go, because if I could today, and every now and then I'll go on eBay and see if there's a pair available somewhere. If I could today spend a decent amount of money buying at least like 10 pairs, it'd be that shoe for sure. What about you?
Yeah, we're staying in the same Nike light stability category. The Nike Lunar Glide. Oh my goodness. Not to sound like we're running geeks, obviously, or like a shoe geek. And I know some people who, we have reps who listen to the show. They're shoe nerds, and we could talk about shoes all the time. But there's just a shoe. It's kind of like when someone drives their first Ferrari or Porsche or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you don't know it until you know it. Oh my God, it almost brings a tear to your eye. It's like you run in it. And again, so I discovered this shoe in college. Put it on. So we're doing a ton of miles, like we're running 80 miles a week. So we're always running, and we're spending so much time on our feet. So this obviously matters so much to us. So I was running the Brooks Ravenna a lot, and I like the Brooks Ravenna. You mentioned it. Light stability. We all, light stability is kind of like really our category because we overpronate a little bit. So I put my foot in the shoe, and it cupped the mid posting. It didn't focus on mid posting. The midfoot. It was really, it supported the heel, the base of the foot, so perfectly. It was a perfect little pocket it sat in, and the cushion was amazing. I'll never forget my first run, and our buddies, Christian Ichko and Jose, our college teammates and like our best friends, obviously they felt the same way about the shoe too. This was like our thing. We it was like the first time you had a piece of chocolate or something, you always remember your first time, dude, this shoe is exactly what we've been waiting for. It's perfect. And they discontinued it a couple years out. They discontinued it right before COVID. And I kept going on Runner's Warehouse, finding the shoes, and they just started getting worse and worse and worse because like the quality, like for the shoes have a shelf life just like anything. So these
Yep.
shoes were probably just sitting in a warehouse, in the runner's warehouse, just decrepit, like, and the quality just like went so down. I just started buying all these pairs, and then they're gone officially now. And I would, if they did like a special release, like $300 or whatever, I would easily do that because I'd be set to get like 10 pairs. I'd be set for 5 years or whatever. You know what I mean? So I miss that shoe, man. Oh my gosh, the Nike Lunar Glide. Those who know.
It's funny because I'm looking at Goat right now, which is like a hype beast website, and they have a
Mm.
pair of Lunar Glide nines for $2,000. Which I don't know why that shoe specifically.
$2,000?
Yeah, you could
Oh my
see
God.
Poshmark has pre-owned for $50. So if you want to go on
Oh,
Poshmark, Lunar Glide sixes,
I
and
have
then
a
Lunar Glide
ton.
eights on StockX for 118 bucks. So you could still buy
Uh,
some.
yeah, they're like out there. I've used like from like I said, like right before COVID is when I stopped buying because they're like done. They had been discontinued since like I don't know, we could fact check, but like 2016, 2017, maybe even before. But once that happened, I was like, "Oh my God, what's my shoe?" Obviously, thankfully I've found a new one, but once
Yeah.
you're I wish all good things have to come to an end. It sucks. They change things, upgrades. We could get into that. We're gonna have some shoe reps on soon, but like I have some. They just became my yard working shoes. Like all these like
Yeah.
old Lunar Glides, and even those are old now. But yeah. R.I.P. to our favorite shoes, man.
Seriously. Good times. All right, David, this next question's for you. Do you guys tape your nips during marathons?
Everyone knows that Office episode. Uh, Andy Nard Dog from The Office is they're running their 5K and he's like his nips are just straight blood running down. Everyone always that's like such a runner's tale of the bloody nips. And again, kind of like the nutrition, where you're running like at most like 5K, 10K, you're not worried about that because like I would get chafing sometimes like on my long runs like inner thigh. That's just normal, it's part of it, so I knew to put some like Vaseline or Aquaphor on that. But marathon training, I ran a half marathon this past January as a tune up. I did not I didn't even think about the nips or anything. I was wearing a jersey and I ran and I was fine, whatever. I had my toe was like my shoes were too small, so I was worried about I had like a toe, my toenail was like falling off. And so I was worried about that, but then I went and I showered and my nips were screaming. They were oh my God, they were burning like crazy. I was like, "Oh my God, the nip pain." So I was like, "Oh my gosh, again, practice makes perfect with these races. I'm glad I didn't discover that in my race. I discovered it before the actual marathon. So I went and did some research and I found these things called NipEase, NIP, like nip, obviously, and then EAZE. I got them on Amazon, and they're pretty much little circular band-aids for your nips. And I put them on for my marathon and did great. I also found, again, it's really good. Like, I'm gonna just keep preaching this. You gotta wear what you're going to wear for your whatever that race it might be. Wear it for a long run or something beforehand because you never know until you find out. So the jersey I was wearing, awesome jersey, but it made my back a little chafed too. So I knew the morning of the marathon, like during the half, it made my back kind of like the back of my arm, almost like side of the armpit. It was obviously rubbing against the jersey. I put some Aquaphor there and I had no issue during the marathon. So it's all about discovering. So tape your nipples? Yes, I did. And Gil, I know that you were kind of like, I passed out at the end of my marathon, but you were kind of our war stories. You had one during the half that you ran with me.
Yeah, I feel like this whole entire episode has been questions targeted at my failure at that half marathon because everything that we've talked about today happened to me that day. But I mean, it was a grand effort to get you across the finish line, and
Trials and
that was the whole
tribulations,
goal.
man.
Yeah. And so, what basically, yeah, you have a picture that I want you to show whenever we produce this. I'm holding the jersey, and there's just blood all over my jersey. I did not wear nip guards during my half marathon, uh, and it was awful. I didn't even realize it until 8 miles in when some lady looking at me in disgust. And I asked myself, man, why is that lady looking at me like that? And I looked down at my shirt and there's just blood everywhere. And it's because my dumbass forgot to wear nip protection. And again, right, you don't think about that stuff because the last time I was seriously running, it wasn't at the half marathon distance. You don't really need that kind of stuff. And so I learned very quickly that I need nippies. And so I have nippies now. I chafe on regular runs now because I sweat so much. I was wearing my singlet the other day and I had to take it off because I felt my nipples starting to burn. And so I quickly ordered some nippies when I got home. And I mean, here in Texas, you could run with your shirt off because it's just so hot. But
Right.
yep, it's a huge, huge, huge thing for men. Get Protect your nips for sure.
Sponsored by Nippies. Okay, so the last question, and this is a fun one. These all have been fun, like I said, but talking about the war stories and the good races, I like this question a lot. So, Gil, we'll both answer this, but we'll start with you, man. If you could relive one race from your career, which would it be and why?
Man, this one's gonna put me in the feels. I'll never forget this race.
Hmm.
I still think about it today. I have it. I have it on video. We were on flow track at University of Florida at their Florida relays. It was the 2 mile. I was in high school my senior year, and this was the race that got me to college. Pretty much changed my life. I had never dreamed about running in college. I was doing high school sports, mediocre academics at like an F school in Florida. Shout out Armwood High School. Big football school, like, no one cared about running. And I had broken every record that there was at my school, which wasn't saying much because the records weren't that crazy. But this was my breakout race. This is what got me the call from UNF to go D1. And I remember I got the call from my coach as I was on my way to Gainesville. And he was like, hey, buddy, the seating came out and you did not make the fast heat. And I was super bummed because we had a pretty good time to get into it. So, back in the day with seating, people were lying about their times to get into the fast heat. And, we did the right thing. We said what our time was. We didn't lie. And I got into the second heat and I was bummed. I was pretty bummed. I was furious because I knew like I wanted to, this was my senior year was my like just like showcase year. It was my first year where I dedicated fully to running. I wasn't playing football or trying to do other sports. I had a good summer. Cross country had gone really well. I was a state qualifier, top 20 in the state in 3A for 5K, which again, not saying much, but this was my year. And I really had decided I wanted to come out and prove some people wrong and beat people that had beaten me in the past. And this was my race. And when I got the call, we made the best of it. I remember warming up, I was just angry because I remember I was angry, and I remember I was listening to Young Jeezy at the time. There's
Hmm.
this one song called "Trap or Die" that's started to make a comeback. I was listening to that song and really just pumping myself up. I get on the track, we start ripping it. It goes out slow, so by lap 2, I take over the pacing, and subsequently, my coach is on video yelling, "Take the lead!" I didn't hear him. I just naturally took lead and pushed for another 4 laps. So I led for essentially 5.5 laps. With 2 laps to go, I get passed by two guys. I end up sitting in third, and we're fighting. And I remember going into bell lap. I knew I had won the race because I knew that I was gonna outkick these guys. And going down the backstretch, I with 200 to go, I start to move, but the camera fixates on third place because third place had a huge kick. I think his name was Brad Roberson, and he comes up from behind, which I think he was from Sarasota. Actually, I'm not sure.
Oh,
Not
I
not
gotta
yours.
look.
Not
Right.
Yeah. We'll have to look it up, but he was from
Hmm.
that area, I think.
Hmm.
He's got a monster kick, and it looks like he's going to take over. But we passed the cages where the throwers are at, and next thing you know, I'm gone. Like I won by like almost like 60 meters. I cooked him down the backstretch. I remember I was so pumped when I finished, and I wish I could relive that race because it was like my true like coming out party for the 2 mile. I went
Mm-hmm.
9:45 ish. Again, nothing crazy, but I got the call after
Mm-hmm.
that. Like the coach was like, "Hey, want to bring you up on a visit." So I was super pumped. It changed my life and a little emotional there, but
I
it was
love
fun,
it,
man.
dude.
Just such a fun race for me.
No, I love it so much, man. I mean, you showed out, which is awesome, and it changed your life. I love the story, dude. So, yeah, there's so many that come to mind, obviously, because there are great races that we've had. I had some really fun high school races, but obviously, those who know me close and know this story already are obviously know which race I'm going to go with. It's breaking 15 in the 5K with my best friend Chris Yanichko, right by my side. It's more so it was kind of a symbolic race, to be honest with you. So I'll set the stage really quick. We were college teammates. We both went in. We're the same grade. And at Florida Southern, there was a lot of crazy turmoil, a lot of changes after our freshman year. So we were the youngest. We were the 6th and 7th runners who made the travel team. Two little freshmen. And we stuck through. We had a bunch of people graduate that year. This is, after the cross country season 2010 and 2011 track. And then, all those people graduated. We had other people who had injuries. We ended up losing our coach. Our coach left. And we had a season or two with like no coach. Like literally no coach. We had a track season where we pretty much didn't have a coach. We had some like stand-ins and we had other, kind of like, this isn't a knock on the people who ended up taking the job, but like really we had like supervisors, not like a full-blown coach. And it was kind of like us against the world. And we were getting asked by a lot of people, like, are you going to transfer? Like, now is the time to
Yeah,
transfer. And listen, kids, this is before transfer portal. The word transfer portal wasn't, this is like
didn't
2012
exist.
type. Didn't exist. So like if we did transfer, if you go from it was D2, so if we went to D2 to D1, you have to sit out and vice versa. It was a nightmare. So it wasn't just transfer, have mommy and daddy move you to the new college and you just get welcomed by the team. No, your whole like world changes. Me and Chris stuck with each other. We had some new people come in. We ended up getting a coach who ended up staying, which was a former teammate. Shout out Ben. Ben came and assumed that role. It was just a unique situation. So we did have a coach, but he had a very small team now. And I'll be honest with you, people can say what they want, but I truly think that if Chris and I left Florida Southern, I don't think Florida Southern is what it is now. I'm not taking Florida Southern now. They have a coach. Matt is incredible. We're really close with him. The team is amazing, but teams get discontinued. Teams get like defunded. There would not have really been runners. And Chris and I stayed, and then we got Jose. Then we got this kid Bobby. Then we got Chris Treblecock. Then we got Gilbert. We wouldn't have ever met, obviously, if we transferred. So I do think what ended up happening, there's a lot of turmoil we went through, and it was really just two teammates running together. So we set out to break 15 in the 5K together our junior year, the spring of 2013, and we did it. We traded off laps. The race just needs a quick recap because it's really what the race symbolizes. People, I mean, we were doubted. There was people who thought we couldn't do it, and I mean, it was a daunting. You're running pretty well under 5 minutes. And we were not heavily recruited kids. It's like in theory we shouldn't be running that. And again, we like barely had a training plan. I say my teammates were my coaches essentially, like in a lot of ways, because we had such a like small team and we were close knit. But we went. It was a Thursday night. They changed the time that we ran at USF, the track in Tampa, and they changed that. It was like supposed to be like the premier race that like Saturday night of the Invitational. They moved it to Thursday night. And we thought we felt kind of slighted. We're like, Thursday night, like that's so lame. But we like set our sights, like we're gonna do it together. And the field was, not huge. We kind of like assumed the 1 and 2 position in the race like pretty quickly, and we traded off laps. There was some wind. We traded off laps and stuck through together. Man, we were sprinting this race. I mean, don't quote me. I think we had to run like 4:45 pace. I don't know what I would do to be in that type of shape again. We were clicking
Yeah.
off like 71s. I think we were. It was fast for us, man, but we felt good, and we get near like the last mile, and we knew we were close, but we were really close, and we had to kick it. We didn't like fall off pace, but we really needed to kick it into gear, and we worked off each other, and we both did it. I ran 14:57, and he was right behind me. I was like high 14:57, he was low 14:58, so like we pretty much finished together. Everything short of just holding hands across the finish, and it was like a culmination of just so much defeat and just like turmoil, and again, like thinking that we're going to leave this college, and that kicked off the amazing year that would be meeting you. We met you the next, because like I think like us breaking 15 is like, dude, they got guys who are fast. Like I'm not taking sole credit. It's all of us. But that really started like, okay, we can build something here. Then a really recruited runner, Bobby Ormsby, commits that summer, or that, that spring. So that race really kicked off what ended up being us being able to go to win conference, win regionals, and go to nationals, and all really. I mean, the pictures up here is, of us like winning this race and being brothers for life. It's I think that race kind of kicked everything off.
Yeah.
And so yeah, sorry to go on the big tangent, but that's what we're passionate about here. So thanks for listening to that.
No, it's a great story. I mean, I think you really think about the effort that it takes to, as a runner, right? It's kind of an uphill battle usually, unless you're one of the top runners in the country, like you're doing this on your own free will, like, yeah, it helps to get on scholarship. It helps to represent a team, but you got to get up every day. You got to commit yourself to doing what you got to do to be your best version of you. It's you against the world. Even when you're on a team, it's still you against the world. And for you to be able to overcome all the obstacles that you did to be able to achieve that feat, there's not that many people in the world that can say they've done that, so it's incredible feat. You should be proud of it. It's a great story, man. I remember looking at the pictures and seeing you guys. I remember actually looking at that as I was, looking to transfer. I was like, they got two guys that are running pretty quick, so it's good. You want to see that in a team environment.
You want to join that. You want to join that.
Yeah, you want to be a part of that culture. So it's good, man. It's awesome. I'm glad. That's a great recap.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, I know I talk too much. It's funny. Me and you both having a podcast. It's good because we are talkers. But I think we both know when to shut up. You know what I mean? I think we wrap it up pretty well. But it's good because we can feed off each other. And I'm really enjoying doing this, and we could talk about this all day long. And I mean, that's a good kind of closing statement. We have some really good interviews lined up. We're actually doing an interview in a couple days with someone who's high up at Fleet Feet, and I'm excited for that. A little quick preview, so that'll be coming out in a few weeks. And I think that's it for the Q&A. We'll do this again. If you guys enjoyed this, we'll definitely ask for more feedback, and we could do this again. But that's a wrap. We appreciate you guys listening. Peace.
Take care.